Welcome to Based on a Book, the podcast that always questions our narrators. I'm Keri, and I feel like I'm in Manderley again.
I'm Crystal, and I feel like I'm trapped in another Mary Shelley novel.
And I'm Lindsey, and I feel like I'm in Wuthering Heights again.
April is for picking just about anything we want. So, of course, I had to bring a little chaotic energy to the mix. For today's episode, we're diving into a story that's equal parts obsession, desire, and unraveling control, which is Vladimir by Julia May Jonas. I keep wanting to say Jones, but it's Jonas. Yes, I keep wanting to say that. And it's 2026 limited Netflix series adaptation starring Rachel Weisz and Leo Woodall. The book was published in 2022 and follows an English professor whose life is on shaky ground where her husband is under investigation. Her career feels slightly stalled, but then enters Vladimir, a young magnetic colleague who quickly becomes the center of her fixation. What begins as curiosity quickly spirals into something far more dangerous, forcing us to question power, perspective, and reliable narrators. Before we get into talking about our feelings on the show, let's talk about our book ratings. Let's start with Crystal on this one.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
I've been so excited to talk about this book.
So, this book is like hardcore character driven.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Hardcore character driven. And as a general rule, I need a little bit more plot for me to care at all. And especially character driven with an unreliable narrator. I feel like we don't ever know the character because we can't trust the character. And in this one, there's really only one character. And guess what? It's not Vladimir, because this is all about the narrator. It's all
Who doesn't have a name.
Who doesn't have a name. And I hate her. I just hate everybody. But I give this book 1.5 random cocktails. And my notes, it's just short and sweet, says, narcissist manipulates everyone around her and is surprised to find out not everyone worships her. And that's it. That's it. That's how I feel about this book.
Oh,
that's my review.
God.
That's my non-spoiler review.
Okay. All right, Lindsey.
Okay, so I liked the story. I thought it was interesting. I didn't like any of the characters. That's why I felt like I was back in Wuthering Heights. I hated everyone, basically. Also, I feel like maybe back to Persuasion, where I feel like maybe if I was a little bit older, I would read it differently. So maybe this is something I can revisit later when I'm a little bit older, and maybe some of the plot points will hit differently. But yeah, I gave this one 3 unfinished novels.
Okay.
All right.
I like a character-driven story a lot, as I talk about all the time.
I knew you and I were going to be slightly different on this because you love a character-driven story.
Yeah. Like, this story is completely inside of her head, like, almost the entire time. To the point that there are moments in, like, chapters where there's, like, little to no dialogue.
Yep.
Which I think drags the story a lot. There's a lot of boring parts in this book. Also, the ending, which we will get into in our spoiler part of this episode, was so bonkers and out of left field that it was completely insane.
Somebody called it a twist in a review. I was like, that wasn't a twist.
That was just, like, random.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I gave it 3.5 recommendation letters because I felt like it kept bringing good conversations for me, like, up for me. that I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about the topics. I liked the social commentary on it that was brought to my attention that I wanted to discuss. That I felt like it was things that people don't really want to talk about, if
That's
that
fair.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's why I really enjoyed reading it. I think it was exploring generational differences, like about desire. Whether it was like doing it in a good or bad way, I can't really say, but I like that it brought the conversation to the table and made me think about it. So that's why I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. But if there's nothing else to say for our non-spoiler reviews, let's get into our spoilers because it's time to talk about that adaptation. So, here is your spoiler warning. From this point on, we will be diving into all major plot details of the book, the show, what worked and what didn't. You know the drill at this point. So, if you have not read the book or watched the show, please do that before you dive into it with us because it's a trip. All right. Because we want you to do that and then come back because we want to hear your thoughts so we can all discuss. But I'm going to give a content warning before we move forward because we will be having a lot of conversations around sexual content. So please be aware of that before listening to this episode because, you know, that's kind of a very major plot point in this story. Now, this adaptation is an 8-episode series on Netflix with actually several episodes written by the author, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I believe she's like an executive producer on the show, which I always like to see.
Honestly, the minute I saw that, I got excited because I feel like whenever an author is involved in their adaptation, I feel like we get a little bit more depth to the story. Because I was like, well, maybe I missed something reading this book. I didn't like this book so much that I legitimately thought I missed something.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I felt like, do I just not get it? Is there something here that I don't understand? And so when I saw that the author was involved in the adaptation, I thought, okay, well, this is her chance to tell me the story or show me the story I might have missed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that happened. So there's a lot more context, I think, in the show than there is in the book, and I was really excited to see that.
Yeah, so the show has a different style to the book, and you know, like someone like Crystal, like what you said, is that you know, if you didn't enjoy the book, this style change might kind of reel you in.
Mm-hmm.
It leans heavily on the dark humor, like the psychological tension. You know, with how we know where the ending is going, I think the psychological tension is needed.
Yeah.
In the show because there is none in the book. So the ending feels kind of insane and wild and out of nowhere.
Mm.
But it's following a lot of the storyline, like a lot of the plot.
Yes.
But with the style, it feels so different. So I'm curious what you both think, specifically what a big style change in this adaptation, which seems to be the most talked about in as people are watching it, is the breaking of the fourth wall. I'm curious, Lindsey, what did you think about that in the adaptation? Because specifically, I keep thinking of that Persuasion that you watched.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was having flashbacks to Persuasion and Dakota Johnson talking to me.
Yeah, yeah. So, did you like it in this at all?
It was fine. I really didn't mind it. And, you know, it's so smooth. And when she does go to break the fourth wall, it's almost cringy because you're like, oh, is someone going to notice that you're talking to me? Like, I'm not here. I'm the audience and you're talking to me. But it's so smooth and it doesn't like interfere with the actual story at all. So I found that interesting.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Crystal?
I mean, kind of the same. I thought, like, sometimes breaking the fourth wall can feel icky and out of place, but I felt this was super in place. I thought it was really well done and in a way that rather than pulling me out of the story, it pulled me further into the story. Like I was her co-conspirator. Like I potentially was like her confidant, the person that she was sharing her innermost thoughts with. And that kind of made me, I don't know, I really liked it. I think it was really well done, especially for this character who is so desperate to get people to like her that she was trying to get me to like her as well.
I was going to say, I also like it playing into the fact that she's an unreliable narrator, and it really helped to differentiate like when she's telling the truth and when she's lying. Like there's this scene when she's at the party toward the beginning, like I guess it's like the first episode, where she makes the salad or whatever.
Yes.
Everyone loved it, and the camera cuts to it and no one has touched it. I was like, oh,
right. So now we know she's lying to us too.
That's when it really clicked with me that she's super unreliable.
Yeah. A lot of people were comparing it to Fleabag. I've never watched that show, but that's another show that breaks the fourth wall a lot. And it's like a dark comedy vibe to it. And I think it, so my personal opinion on it, I did not like it personally. I don't like the fourth wall break at all, but I understood why they were trying to do that, where it aligned with the book in a sense because we live so much in her head.
Yeah.
You know, that is how that story is, where to the point where you're like, how are they going to do this when this entire story is, you know, her internal like monologue basically. So I think that is like an interesting choice.
Can we take a moment to recognize how well Rachel Weisz does this? Because sometimes within the same scene, she'll go from talking to the other characters in the scene and in the same take, turn and say something to us with a completely different face, a completely different tonal inflection, her inner monologue to us, and then turn right back to the characters and be back in character for them. And it's so smooth and like such a perfect transition. You know that those other characters didn't see that, didn't know that was all pretend, that was in her head, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so well done by Rachel Weisz. Her face does right. The tone of her voice changes. I was just shocked at how well it was done. I mean, because you know it's got to be like emotional or character. I don't know how actors deal with that kind of like tonal whiplash, but she did it.
Yeah, it's almost like she's playing two different characters. She's playing who, like, her out, you know, who she is to other people and who she's pretending to be to other people. And then, like, when she's speaking to us is who, you know, not all the time is who she really is because she's also lying to us. You know what I mean?
Which in a lot of ways means she's lying to herself.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
She's a different character with almost every person in her life. She plays a different role. It's wild to see that portrayed so well.
Yeah. So both the book and the show begin with the unnamed narrator, like we said, played by Rachel Weisz, who is talking to us. And in the very beginning of both the book and the show, she is at a cabin with a guy named Vladimir, played by Leo Woodall. And she is describing him as being strapped to a chair, describing him in like an erotic way. And then it switches to several weeks before that happening. In the show, it seems more like thriller vibes where it's like he's like yelling for help, which makes it seem like more scary. But then we're following like this woman's, her character's like very intriguing life. So she's married in her 50s and has one daughter whose name is Sid, and Sid is a lawyer, also in a relationship. At this exact moment that we meet her in the story, our main character, This woman is a college professor and her husband is a college professor, and they are like royalty at this college, basically. Like, they've been here forever. Everyone has loved them and they're like kind of on a pedestal. But her husband, John, his job is in jeopardy because a petition was given to the school with several hundred signatures in affidavits by 7 women, former students of the college, who had engaged with him sexually. On top of that, she feels she is like losing her ambition as a writer. She is distracted by this whole thing happening with her husband, but in not all the ways that you would assume. She has an unconventional relationship with her husband. They don't really put labels on it, but it's pretty much like an open marriage. So to her, these affairs are not very surprising, and she's kind of like giving us like the details right off the bat. And she's having almost like this conflicted reaction to these affairs. Like, throughout the story, we're having a very up and down response. Sometimes, like, this is what makes me like feel very like, sometimes I hate her, sometimes I like kind of feel for her. Sometimes I feel like she's just like, this feels like a very human reaction where she's like, she hates her husband for doing this. And then sometimes she's like upset with these women who, reacted this way towards her husband. I'm curious, Lindsey, what were your thoughts on it? Like, how she reacts to it?
I have to admit something first.
Okay. Tell us.
I didn't realize that she didn't have a name until I watched the adaptation.
Me neither.
I was like reading the description of one of the episodes and it just said M. And I was like, M, does she not have a name?
Yeah.
And I had to look it up. So I was like, bravo, author. You didn't make me hate the fact that she's not named. And that's hard to do because I usually hate it when they don't have a name. But I completely agree. I was super conflicted with the way she was reacting because she's so wishy-washy and back and forth, and you don't really know how she's feeling. And that made me conflicted.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt as well. Like, I have like this quote from, this is from page 10, like very early on when she's kind of explaining to us about the situation with her husband. And she, like, this is kind of touched on later in the show where she will not say, I forget how she words it specifically, but she won't say something like specific words about her husband doing this to these women because that means it takes away their power of their consent. And that really like stuck with me because it's just like there's an obvious power dynamic which is very bad in this situation that shouldn't happen between like a student and a teacher. And obviously, like, we're not talking about students below the age of 18. These are students in college. And something that she says is like, whatever the current state of my marriage may be, I still can't think about it all without my blood boiling. My anger is not so much directed toward the accusations as it is towards the lack of self-regard these women have, the lack of their own self-confidence. I wish they could see themselves not as little leaves swirled around by the wind of a world that does not belong to them, but as powerful sexual women interested in engaging in a little bit of danger, a little bit of taboo, a little bit of fun. And like she would say things like this and it would like piss me off. And then I would like settle in of what she was trying to say regarding like she wanted women to have more power in what they were doing. But then she would hate her husband for putting them in that position.
Yeah.
So it was like, I kept like having these weird like moral conflictions with myself and with her. Like I was like doing it with her.
Yep.
And I think that's what kind of like made me like this book a little more than I expected. Does that make sense?
It made you feel something. That's
Yeah.
definitely something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as she is dealing with all this, like in her workplace as a professor, dealing with other colleagues, like, eyeballing her as she's, as her husband is also about to, like, go basically, like, on a trial over this. A new professor is introduced, Vladimir. He's also a writer. He has a wife, Cynthia, and they have a child. Vladimir is young, very attractive, and becomes like her obsession. And honestly, this is where the show loses me. Episode 1. I'm just kidding. To be totally honest, I did not love the show. I did not enjoy the show that much. I felt like a lot of what made me connect with the character in the book, they took away from her in the show. And I was kind of disappointed by that. And I'll kind of like touch on that a little bit more. But the daydreaming with Vladimir in the show, where it was really bothering me, where she gets so distracted by this daydreaming to the point where her life like falls apart. Like, and that was not her character in the book.
No.
She was very much put together regardless of how she was around Vladimir. Like, Vladimir had no control over her life.
I think in the show they softened her and they softened Vladimir.
Yeah.
While also amping up the side characters.
Yes.
Like, they amped up Sid. They amped up John. They amped up the David character, the other professor, and Flo, the one who was the other like semi-obnoxious character. They really amped up those side characters and kind of softened the two main characters. To the point where, like, Vlad in the book never reads her book, but in the show he does. Just like they made him a somewhat better person than what he is in the book. Just a little bit, not a ton, but just enough to change the character.
Yeah.
Same with the narrator. They made her a little bit more chaotic than what she was in the book.
Yeah.
I think in the book she was very, very strategic. Very strategic.
100%.
And we don't see that quite as much, like, in the book. Like, even the thing that happens towards the end, it was planned in the book. It was a spur of the moment in the show because she's a little more chaotic in the show. And I don't know that I liked that so much.
Yeah. And so basically the rest of the story is our narrator's obsession with Vladimir, where it's kind of, in my opinion, how I interpret it, it's almost like the daydreaming and obsession with Vladimir is distracting her and inspiring and like being her muse to write again. And it's distracting her from what is happening with everything going on with her husband. And that's like kind of what the story is about. But I think another, like, a very big difference between the book and the show is that despite the title being Vladimir of the book, this book is not about Vladimir.
Nope.
Actually, Vladimir is very much not in this book.
Nope.
It's very little, like, he's very much barely in here. I think this is very, like, more a story about her, and honestly also about her and her husband and their relationship.
Yep.
And how they cope with anything. It's mostly about that. And Vlad is just kind of like the thing that helps her deal and helps her process or like escapism, basically. And that's it. But like Crystal said, her chaotic energy is so much more in the show, to the point of making it like kind of spooky. Like very like stalker like whenever she's obsessing over Cynthia, it was freaking me out.
Yeah.
Cynthia, like I said before, is Vlad's wife. And, you know, Cynthia and Vlad's relationship is kind of strange, or like it's
very
strange.
young couple with a new kid.
Yeah.
It's very typical in that learning to navigate being parents, both people trying to still have careers, you know, and creative pursuits, and trying to navigate that as a couple. That's it's fairly, like, honestly, as I was reading it, I think the author meant for it to sound like it might be a little strained, and all I was reading was like, yes, strained, but that's typical at this point.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think also him talking about like announcing her mental health issues to everyone.
Yeah.
That was like a big deal on their relationship. And like anytime he would talk about Cynthia, it was never a good thing.
Yeah. He
And
never said how smart she was, or how beautiful she was, or how much he loved her. It was always, I have to do this for Cynthia, or Cynthia needs me to do that, or she always expects me to, you know.
It was like something bad was happening, or like some type of like complaining about Cynthia.
Well, that's like a whiny male.
Yeah.
That's like toward the end, no spoilers or anything, but when Vlad is talking to the narrator and he makes the comment that, oh, it can finally be about me now. And it's been about him the whole time.
Yeah.
And then you get that perspective from John, where John was like, Cynthia made the comment that it's finally not about Vlad. And you're like, oh, so is he also an unreliable narrator?
He's just a horrible human being. We've read a lot of horrible men this season, and I'm getting really tired of it, honestly. Can we
make a list?
Can we find a book with a really good man in it that's not a child?
Not a child.
Well, because we read Percy Jackson. He's a good young man, but he's a boy. He's a child.
Yeah.
We are going to read Hunger Games, so that means PETA's coming. I'll look forward to that.
PETA! Oh, wait, we're reading Mockingjay.
Oh, no. Crap. You guys.
It's okay. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Poor PETA. Yeah, whenever the narrator kept like insisting on this friendship with Cynthia, and Cynthia, like, honestly, I could kind of relate to this when someone will not take no for an answer, when you're just like, I don't want to hang out. Like, I just like, I need space. Like, I don't want to, like, I kind of like don't need to be like around you right now. And she was just like bullying her into being her friend.
Yeah.
I was like,
intense.
Stop. This is making me uncomfortable.
Secondhand embarrassment. Hardcore. Like,
yes.
Go away.
Yeah. And so they also like, they change like like I said, change the narrator's character, where she's like spiraling so badly, like not being on top of her recommendation letters, not paying attention like to her daughter. That was like a very big difference for me, where like in the book, she like her and her daughter's relationship was very important to her, and like mending that, because it was strained due to everything that was happening with her husband, because the daughter didn't know about it. And, you know, obviously when something like that comes up, you know, with your dad, that's obviously going to be like, what the hell?
Sid in the show was also very freaking whiny. What was up with that? Sid in the book, and again, unreliable narrator, so we don't really know how Sid is at all, honestly.
Yeah.
But Sid in the book was like young and a little bit like unsure of exactly what she wanted in her life, but like super intelligent and knew right from wrong, and had a very like firm sense of justice. She's a lawyer, and Sid in the show was like, Mom, Dad, why are you acting like this? Please stop. Don't you care? And it was very like, whoa. Like Sid honestly reminded me of like a whiny teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And she's supposed to be like in her early 30s, because they talk about like her partner, her wife is going to be in, if they have a baby, it would be a geriatric pregnancy. So that means she has to be at least 35. I know this because I had one of those.
Mm-hmm.
So like that means that Sid is in her early 30s. I don't feel like Sid in the show acted like a teenager, honestly.
Yeah. I think also we got basically the reveal that we're told about in the book that had happened like previously.
Mm-hmm.
We actually see that reveal in the show. But yeah, I think Sid's character honestly takes kind of a big shift. And honestly, they let her character kind of fall off completely in the show.
Yeah. And in the book, it
Where,
was super important.
yeah.
Specifically, the conversation about her potentially having a child with her wife. And here it is, narrator's like, you don't know what you want yet. Why would you do that? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you're questioning Sid's ability to judge what she wants for her life, but you think these other women who were potentially teenagers and in their early 20s knew what they wanted and should have known.
Yeah.
Like that, those two comparisons were kind of in your face in the book, and we don't really get that in the show at all.
Yeah.
And that kind of bothered me.
Yeah, that honestly, that was like an essential correlation in the story that I was hoping could have been expanded in the show. Also, the fact that in the book, Sid has a lot of anger towards her dad about what he's doing, and then Sid reveals that she's been having an affair with a coworker in the book, and talks to her dad about that. And I think that's also a very interesting like correlation that happens in the story as well that I wish could have been expanded, but it's like only just briefly mentioned in the show.
Yeah.
And never touched on again. I'm like, well, what was the point of that?
Mm-hmm.
And then her girl, were they married?
I think they were married. I think
no.
Okay.
They were not married yet. Sid's partner wanted to get married and wanted to have a baby.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Yep.
And then her girlfriend comes back and is like, she shows up in the show way earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And only shows up for that like hot minute.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, her character, I feel like they, kind of fell off on, helping her character like develop a little bit more.
In fact, I feel like they focused more on Cynthia and David and Flo than they did on Sid.
Yeah.
And Sid, I think, was more essential to the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was the whole storyline where, her partner finds out about the coworker, so she leaves to go to her parents' house and she meets the guy in the subway and they have relations. And then as she's, mending her relationship with her partner and she's dropping little hints about how she's sick in the morning, you're like, oh, uh-oh.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get that reveal toward the end where she's pregnant and they're going to have the baby and there's their baby.
Yeah.
Yep.
I missed that in the show.
Yeah, I did too.
That was wild. In the show, we also have an added character named Lila, which is a person who is within that affidavit against the main character's husband. And there's like an added element within the show where she was a previous student of the main character. So whenever this was announced, this petition was announced, she was also up for like a scholarship that was also a part of like our main character. And she claims that the main character did not give the scholarship to her as like retaliation. So like there is that element in there as well, in the story that was not in the book, which I think is interesting, added element to it. Like we said before, there's a lot of like extra side characters who are so insufferable.
Mm-hmm.
They are so insufferable. I cannot stand that Flo girl.
And the thing is like I know that woman in life. I swear to God. I think everybody has a Flo in their life somewhere,
Uh-huh.
right? But I kind of liked her in the book. I mean, like I didn't like her. She's not meant to be likable. But I liked that she challenged the narrator openly all the
Yeah.
time. And not in a like I want to fight you sort of way, but in a like that is genuinely who Flo is, right? I didn't feel like she was purposely trying to create fights. She was trying to create conversations and make people think like a college professor should. In the
Yeah.
show, she was insufferable.
Yeah.
She was a frenemy. At one point they used the word frenemy. I'm
Yeah.
mad about that because again, you know how I feel about authors trying to sound young. Don't do that. But somehow it kind of fit for this narrator to be trying to fit in with the younger kids.
Mhm.
So it felt right. I don't know. I'm conflicted about the use of the word frenemy.
Yeah. For some reason this moment that's so stuck in my head. I don't know why, but I think it's because I was like, this is so unrealistic. There was, I think it was a professor who also worked at a grocery store.
Right.
So she's working as like a cashier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And John is like checking out and he sees that she's like also has a book at the register. Like she's reading while she's working. Never would happen.
No.
Never would happen.
Having a book at a register? Yeah,
Exactly. You would never be allowed to read a book at the register.
No.
And you never would have time to do that.
No.
And I just want to say that doesn't happen, doesn't exist, unrealistic. Like the second I saw that, no, you would never be allowed to do that ever.
Nope.
You got time to lean, you got time to clean.
Yuppers.
Immediately I clocked that. I was like, absolutely not. But I want to talk about also these fantasies that our main character is having with Vlad. Very hot, very sexy
Very
fantasies.
hot, very sexy.
So what this whole thing is that, you know, her husband is going through this trial basically, and then she's having these fantasies with a much younger colleague.
Can we
right?
also point out that dude's name is Vladimir Vladinsky? That's like John Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah.
I watched this with a friend who had not read the book,
Mhm.
and he was like, wait, what's his name? And I was like, Vladimir Vladinsky. And he was like, are you for real? Yeah, I'm for real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real. Yeah, so these scenes are obviously not actually happening. They're just like her fantasies. Every time she sees him, like in the show, like every single time she sees him,
Yeah.
immediately she is fantasizing. He's throwing her on the table against the wall. He's like doing something crazy to her. And then she immediately, in a split second, is back to normal. She's like trying to have a conversation or something. In the book, it's like not really like that.
It's somewhat implied, though. I think there's been a few times that like
Yes.
she talks about how she thought of him or she had to touch herself or whatever. So we have to like but it's not nearly as explicit, and I feel like it's not as often.
Yeah. 100% not as often. Like it's not every time she sees him, and it's more like it's the muse part of it. Like she's
Right.
picturing these things because it's inspiring her to write and to do, it's inspiring her to be like artistic, basically, like to get creative. And that's why she's having these fantasies. Like Crystal said, she like writes these incredible scenes for her latest book because she hasn't written in a really long time. She hasn't had that spark, and she like just seeing this person gives her a spark. So she sees this person, she writes and writes and writes, and then she talks about touching herself because she's just that inspired because she's just like picturing him in different ways and stuff like that. That's the point of the story. The show is like twisting it where she's just like having horny tunnel vision, and just
For
because
real.
she just sees a younger hot dude,
Mhm.
and that's it. And yeah, she is like going off and writing and like writing a story, but it's like it's not correlating like it should. Does that make sense? Like to me, it's just like not correlating how it is in the book.
I
And I'm
do
like, ugh, I
I
don't know.
do I do have a legitimate question.
Okay.
And I don't want to go too far ahead in the story, but this is toward the end
Mm-hmm.
when they're at the cabin. And Vlad whispers in her ear that he wants them to come back to the cabin. Is it like once a month or something?
Uh-huh.
Did that actually happen? Or did she imagine that?
I want to think she imagined it. Because I want to think
Mhm.
that Vlad wasn't nearly as interested in her as she wanted him to be.
Mhm.
Personally.
When you have such an unreliable narrator who is not only lying to us but is also having these fantasies, it gets confusing. You don't really know what's real, what's really happening. Like, is she imagining this scene? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, and again, I'm not a man. I don't know, but I don't know many men who would sit there right after your husband got up from the table and went to bed in the same building that we are sitting in, who would say something like that to another woman. I've never been in an open relationship either, so I don't know. I'm not polyamorous. Maybe that's a thing. But I feel like from a man who was monogamous up until this point, he probably wouldn't have said that.
Mhm.
Especially someone who was going to go back to his wife.
Yeah, he was pretty like pissed at that point. Yeah. I this kind of brings I have like two questions that I'm curious about before we get into the breakdown of the ending. Like what was there like a specific moment that you if you were ever rooting for the main character? Like what specific moment did you stop rooting for the main character if ever? Crystal, what about you?
When she decided she was going to have an open conversation with her students,
Mm.
and one of them had asked, like, don't you expect them to, like, don't you understand that there was a power dynamic there? And that she says, by saying that, you take away your agency, as, you know, like, don't you think that you are capable of making adult decisions?
Mhm.
That's when I stopped rooting for her. Because yes, at 18, 19, 20, because that's how old some of these students are, 21, 22 years old, I am capable of making adult decisions. That doesn't change that there's a power dynamic.
Yeah.
That doesn't change that I'm making decisions based on that power dynamic. And as the person in the power position within that dynamic, it is your responsibility to recognize that and step away, not the other person, not the person without power. And for
Mhm.
her to not recognize that and not even be willing to consider it, that's when I went, no, I'm done.
Yeah, that's kind of like where I was at when she had brought that up, where I kept like going like up and down, like how I felt about it when she was saying that. But yeah, the fact that it's like not a consideration
Mm-hmm.
in the conversation is where it's like I can't ever 100% agree with this person.
And you, as an adult, you can still make adult decisions and be taken advantage of. Those
Yeah.
two things are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely. So what about you, Lindsay?
I agree. I tried to go into the story very neutral. I didn't know anything about it. I was listening to the audiobook, and at first the narrator, like within like the first 5 minutes, she talks about where her anger originates or something. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, she said
It
her
originates
anger.
from her vagina.
Yeah, her vagina.
That's why I started questioning things.
Right off the bat. Yeah. So
Yep.
my other question is, do you think that she has any self-awareness, or do you think she's like delusional? What about you, Lindsay?
I'd say she probably had some self-awareness at some point, but mostly through the story, I feel like she's super delusional.
Mm-hmm.
And just the way that she thinks other people perceive her, especially the students, and how popular her class is. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure she does have some self-awareness, but for the most part, she's pretty delusional.
Yeah. What about you, Crystal?
I think she thinks she has self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no.
Yeah. Also, like something we didn't really touch on that's not really talked about in the show at all, but in the book, she talks a lot about her extreme insecurities.
Uh-huh.
Like very extreme
Her
insecurities.
weight and her issues with food were
Mm-hmm.
intense.
Yeah. Like to the point, because we're living so much in her head, to the point where I was like, I can't even like listen to this anymore. Like this is horrible. Like this is like so miserable to read about.
And I mean, like Lindsay said at the beginning when she was, you talked about maybe when you're older. Like I'm not as old as this main character because I think she said she was 58, 56, 58, something like that.
58.
I'm 44. I'm not there. And so I don't want to necessarily speak like I am, but from where I am now, there is there, like I can see that the shift in the way I'm perceived by others. I can see a shift in how I feel about myself and what my body is capable of, and like how I feel, do I feel attractive to men? Do I, like these, it's definitely something that shifts as you age in ways that I knew were going to happen and in ways that I didn't expect.
Mm.
And so I can see her struggle in this book.
Yep.
With that shift and that change. And I can imagine from where I stand now that it's probably only going to get more difficult for me to roll and accept these changes in myself and in my life and in my place in society and in my place in my family. And that you see her struggle with how other people perceive her, where she is within her career, where she stands within her family and her, her mother-daughter relationship with her child. Like I've experienced some of that. And so I see kind of where she's coming from in those struggles. But that doesn't excuse her behavior. And I don't think, I mean, we can all agree that this is not a healthy representation of any woman ever.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think this is a particularly challenging place in life. And so I understand why she like her body in particular, like struggling with her weight and wanting to like be perceived, but only in the way that she wants to be perceived, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that I see it and I kind of get it, but I'm also
Yeah.
kind of like, girl, talk to a therapist.
And there was also something in this story to note is that it was very important to her to not, show that or pass that on to her daughter.
Yeah.
And, she never wanted to show how she reacted about food or how she reacted about her appearance to her daughter because she didn't want her daughter to be like her about those things. So I thought that was a good thing.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's so obsessed with other people thinking that she's younger than she actually is.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe I'll be like that when I'm older, but at this point in my life, I don't care.
Right?
Yeah. But now I want to get into these endings because we have different endings for the book and the show. In the book, on the day of John's trial, which we haven't really talked a ton about John, because I don't really want to talk about John.
That's fair.
But I will say in the show, he is a very good actor.
Yes.
I think he's a great actor. But his character, like, their relationship is like so bizarre and complex. But, like, is it bad to say, like, I'm kind of like, I don't know how to say this. Like, I'm not rooting for them, but, like, by the end of the story, I was kind of like, I felt like okay. Like, I felt settled about it and good about it as it ended in the book. With their, like, I was like, you guys are weird and you guys deserve each other, and, like, just go
Right.
be together and just do what you're gonna do. But, like, just do that together and stop bothering other people, kind of thing.
They're both terrible people. They can go be terrible people together.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's exactly how I felt.
Me too.
Anytime I see John Slattery, though, I cannot, or Slattery?
Uh-huh.
I cannot see him as anything other than his character in Mad Men. I just can't. I don't know if you guys watched Mad Men. It was really big.
No, I haven't.
It was really big like 15 years ago, so I get that. But you probably ought to at least watch the first season. Totally worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Also, why is he so hot? He's 63 years old. He's still fine. Still fine.
He was also in Desperate Housewives. He was married to, I think, Eva Longoria's character.
I've still never seen that show.
I haven't seen
should
that
watch
either.
He makes a comment about Eva Longoria in one of the episodes. I was like, oh, your wife?
Your wife? Oh my gosh. Okay, so in the book, like I said, on the day of John's trial, Vladimir and our main character go out together because she doesn't go to her husband's trial. She plans a day to spend together, which eventually turns into something, like we said before, completely chaotic and out of left field. There was no build up to this. So and this is the first time that, like, her and Vlad, like, spend time together privately. And she gets him drunk and drugs him. Hello?
Again,
Hello?
super planned and strategic.
Yes.
In the book.
In the book. We're talking
in
about
the
book.
show, she's like, oh no, he wants to leave. What am I gonna do?
Yes.
And drugs him spur of the moment.
Yeah.
With blue pills mixed into, I think, with some bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that wouldn't have changed the color.
Yeah. So then we are taken back to the beginning scene of the book, where he's strapped to a chair. Her plan is that, so she, okay, little, you hear a meow in the background. Her plan is so weird. So weird. So she gets him drunk and drugs him so that when he wakes up, she'll convince him that he got so drunk. And he told her to tie him to the chair after she told him that Cynthia and John were having an affair, because at that time she had seen Cynthia and John, like, have, like, a close moment together.
They went into the same building together.
Yes.
That's what she saw.
Yeah.
They walked into the same building together.
Yeah. So, which eventually we find out is not true. They were not having an affair. And because of this, it will convince Vlad to stay and be around her to proceed something with her. That's what she thinks will happen. But I kind of love how this plays out in the book, where it's like he eventually finds out what she does and he kind of doesn't care, and it gives her the ick.
What gave her the ick was that he wanted to play, like, some weird ass professor and student role play.
Yeah.
and that made her feel old. And here she was with this younger man trying to recapture her freaking youth or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I think she had the ick a little bit before that too, because she was like, you're not like, because the whole time she was hoping in her fantasies that he would have some type of like wanting to have control and like, you know, get a little aggressive or something. And he kind of was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
There's also in the book where she describes when they're eating and he apparently holds his fork like overhand or something. And I think that was the start.
Yep.
There were so many moments when he did stuff that was like red flaggy, pink flaggy. And she was just like, he didn't mean it like that. Or he didn't pretend it like that.
Yep.
Like when she was like, I'll wear your wet clothes, because he had jumped in the lake or fallen in the lake or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, where are your clothes? I'll wash them for you. And he was like, the jeans can't go in the dryer. Like, no, thank you. No, oh, you don't have to do that. I'll get it. No, nothing like that. Just, and she was just like, oh, no big deal. Like, you know, she wrote off a lot of that kind of behavior right up until the point where she kind of couldn't anymore. And then she was like, okay, no, maybe not.
Yeah.
I think she wanted to be pursued. She kept fantasizing about being pursued. And the minute he accepted her as the pursuer, it wasn't fun anymore.
Exactly. She became her husband.
Yup.
Exactly. So then they have sex, and it's mediocre at best in the book.
Even in the show, when she's like, you can finish.
Yeah. So not living up to all the fantasies she had while writing her book, and she's like, okay. So this entire scenario, like we've kind of indicated, similar in the show. A big difference is that the drugging seems low-key, like not exactly planned, a little accidental, where she is kind of planning it, but then she's like kind of being hesitant, and then he like goes for it and drinks a drink, and then she's like, oh my god, I can't believe he just did that. But like, I think the sex scene that eventually happens was way like more intense. Like, it's like he's doing all the fantasy things, and then like she's immediately having an orgasm.
Like
and
immediately.
Then,
immediately at 58 years old. Hello.
No, immediately. Like 2 seconds in. It's like all of this was preparing for this moment, and then it was just like over and done. And then she's like, you can go in your bedroom now. I was like, I love that.
I mean, I would have said the same thing, honestly.
Yeah. I love that. I thought it was so funny. And he's like, oh, okay. But in the book, though, like it was like not passionate at all. Like not like that at all. But I liked it more in the book because it wasn't passionate. It was like so lame because it's just like all this build up, and it's like for nothing. Like it didn't live up to the fantasy.
That's how I feel about this whole book.
Dang.
Yeah. So then in both the book and the show, John shows up because the final verdict on the hearing came out. He comes to see her at the cabin because he's like been looking all over for her and finally finds her there. And Vlad is there, and he knows they have been like hooking up. The way he reacts in the show cracked me up, where he's like, good job. He's like, good job. The way he just reacts in the show in general when like Vlad is around, he's like, that's your new man. That's your new lover.
Right.
Like, it was actually kind of funny the way he was reacting about it. But he has like in the show kind of like I guess in the book and the show, he kind of has the same reaction where he like wants to be with his wife after he's like feeling vulnerable after this whole situation happened. But he reveals that he's not having an affair with Cynthia after they both thought that he was, and they were just riding together but taking drugs to do it, which sets Vlad off because he says Cynthia has a history with drugs, as she's like an addict or something, and he like goes off on John. Then after like things settle, they go to sleep, and their cabin catches on fire. This is where I feel it gets very Rebecca, okay? Which is actually referenced a lot in the book and the show.
It is. It is.
Which makes me laugh. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's our first book club pick.
Also, episode 1. Did you catch the title of episode 1?
What was the title?
We Have Always Lived in the Castle.
Oh, yes, I
caught
did.
that.
Yes,
and I was
yes.
like, oh, are they all going to be books? And
it started and I was like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it was just so out of left field, though, this fire.
Yeah.
It was just like somebody had mentioned it being a twist. And I was just like, I don't think we can call that a twist.
No.
I don't think we can call this a twist. It was so far out of left field. It's right up there with like, and then lightning hit the cabin. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
What? I also think it was just horribly freaking convenient, honestly. And I think, sometimes when an author doesn't know where to go with the story, they throw in a curveball. And that's, this wasn't a twist, it was a curveball.
Yeah.
And it conveniently wraps up everything because of this fire in the book.
Mm-hmm. It was like, we don't know how to wrap this up in like a good way, in a memorable way.
So we'll blow it up.
Yeah, blow it up. Fire.
And it's so funny because they reference that in the story with the narrator's ending. And John was like, you don't like that ending to your book or whatever. And it's like, well, apparently there was no idea for the ending of the story either. So
Yeah. And in the show, we have like a symbolic moment where she picks like saving her book over the guys to escape the fire, and like everyone gets out okay. That's the ending of the show. Like her running out with her book that she wrote to escape
on legal
the fire.
pads, multiple legal pads.
Yeah, and we got a Lizzo song in the background, and she's like looking at us, talking again. And I'm like, don't look at me. Like, you got yourself in this mess. Like, don't talk to me about it.
Pretty much.
And then in the book, completely chaotic. And like, we have like chapters with like 4 sentences in it for every chapter or something, like to make us like building the suspense or something. And Vlad drags her and John out, and they are severely burned in like recovery for a long time, like 3rd-degree burns. Her book is like destroyed in the fire, and like, John and her like in recovery for a really long time. And then they eventually get out, and then they move back in together or something.
And well, they get a settlement from the insurance company or whatever of the manufacturer of the space heaters that apparently caused the fire.
Yes.
And so now they're rich.
Yeah. Yeah.
They literally get a happily ever after.
Yeah, that's exactly what
I don't
happened.
understand how that, like, and this is when I solidified my rating of this book. Because I was like, what?
Yeah, this ending is kind of ridiculous.
What?
And
apparently even Vlad gets his happily ever after with Cynthia.
Yeah. So like basically the end is like they've all written their books. Like John's written his epic poem, and Cynthia's written her memoir, and Vlad has written his book about
yeah.
His book is about him, a guy having an affair with a professor, and she dies in a fire. I'm like, a little close to home, Vlad.
Right.
A little close to home on that one.
I feel like at least the show, although it was very heavy-handed, we get her saving the novel as some sort of like, I choose myself. Yeah. I'm going to choose to save me. I mean, don't get me wrong. Again, heavy-handed, especially with the Lizzo song in the background. But I liked that better than I liked this, like, weird-ass happily ever after of the book, Yeah. Personally.
Yeah, it was...
The Lizzo song is what killed me, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that ending was weird. It was bizarre. But, I mean, now that we talked about the endings, let's talk about our final verdict between the book and the show. I think we might all possibly be different here. I'm curious. Lindsey, what about you?
It's really funny that Crystal said she hated the ending of the book but liked the ending of the show, because I feel like I'm the opposite. I really did not like the ending of the show. I didn't like not knowing what happened. Like, so did Vlad and John actually escape? We don't know. Unreliable narrator. She says they did.
Unreliable narrator in the book too, though. So we don't know that everybody actually got their happily ever after.
It's true. It's true.
She was writing a book, so maybe she felt like she had to put the HEA in there.
I thought this whole thing was going to be like, and this is my book. Like, I thought that's what we were going to get
But I
here.
think it kind of was. That's why we got the HEAs. I don't know.
Because it was called, the book is called Vladimir. So I thought it was like, at the end, I was like trying to do like a whole mastermind thing in my head that like we're like reading a book within a book type thing. I was like, maybe I'm still on like my Poor Things situation. I need to get like out of that mindset. I don't know.
Yeah, where she says, Vlad wrote a book about having an affair with the professor, and I wrote this book.
Yeah. I like literally I was waiting for that moment.
And I took my power back and I named it after him.
Yes. That's honestly what I was waiting for. But go ahead, Lindsay. What were you going to say about your final verdict?
It's really tough. I think I'm gonna go book on this one, just because I don't like how much they changed the characters in the in the series, and I actually did like the build up in the book with the fire and everything. Now, after the fire and the you know, her talking about them going to rehab to heal from the burns and stuff, I didn't care about anything after that. But like the buildup of the fire was really interesting.
Okay. What about you, Crystal? I think we all know that one.
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't really like the show, honestly. As an adaptation, I think it's kind of crap. As a standalone, if I had not read the book, I think I would have been more entertained by the show. And so I'm going to say show. If you're only going to do one, I would do the show.
That's fair.
Yeah.
What about you, Keri? Come on. Uh-oh.
Definitely going book for sure.
Okay.
I did not like the show that much. Honestly, it was really rough to get through for me, personally.
So I talked to you guys about this, I think, just randomly one day, about how I've heard a lot of people really love the show, but of the people that have told me that, they were men. And I see it now. I see it now. I kind of get why men like this.
Interesting.
I don't understand men. God, I hate men. What's happened to me, you guys? I keep reading, you keep making me read these books and watch these shows where men are awful. We need to come on, PETA.
I actually have seen a lot of people, a lot of like book talk and stuff. A lot of women book talkers really love this show. So I think that's interesting. It actually has like a decent rating right now. So I'm confused. I don't know why it has a decent rating, but maybe that's just me. That's just my personal taste on that. But like I said, I just did not like this show at all. I really didn't. Fair. I don't like, I think right now I watched the His and Hers Netflix adaptation, and I feel like they can do so well with a Netflix adaptation, like something like that. So I'm like, that is the bar. The bar has been set there, and I need them to keep it there, you know? So that is the one that I really want them to stick to. I really like that adaptation. But let's get to our question.
Oh, wait, go ahead. If you haven't been watching our YouTube, Fuzz just showed us exactly where the bar was. Yeah. It's right in front of Lindsay's face, by the way.
Yeah, he is all up on that camera.
He's like, I will show you a man that you can like.
Oh, my sweet Fuzz.
He's right here.
Yep. Yeah.
Love him.
So our question of the episode is, what is a character that is unliked by many, but you actually love? Or the opposite, loved by many, but you actually hate? I'll have Lindsay go first.
I'll be completely honest. I was so stumped on this. I kept trying to think of characters that I had read that I thought maybe people hated. I really don't know. I don't look a lot of these characters up. So I'm not like, oh, I know this person. Just everyone hates this person. So I was like, Eric Northman from the Sookie Stackhouse series. Nope, everybody loves him. And I was like trying to think of somebody. So this isn't someone I necessarily love, but it's definitely someone that I sympathize with, and I can show empathy toward. I'm gonna say Jack Torrance from The Shining.
Really? Okay.
Interesting.
No, I get it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially after reading the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, Jack Torrance specifically in the Shining book, not the movie. No, he's just terrible in the movie. And that's why I really disliked him in the movie. But he was really trying to break like the generational curse. And he really did love his family, and he tried.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Crystal?
I actually have one of each.
Okay.
For characters that most people hate, but I loved, the Trunchbull from Matilda. I don't know if you guys have read the book or watched the movie, but she is very hateable, but I loved her because she hated kids. And I get it. I freaking get it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my kids, but y'all's kids suck, and I'd be throwing them in the chokey. I don't care. I really wouldn't, actually. Kids aren't that bad. But she's, like, super almost relatable and enjoyable in that, like, fuck it, it's all about me kind of way. I like that. And then a character that everyone loves, but I actually hated, is from Glee, Sue Sylvester. Everybody loved her because, like, don't get me wrong, she was, like, kind of, like, meant to be disliked and unenjoyable and abrasive, but in a lovable because I care about you sort of way. And I'm over here like, no, you're just a bitch. So,
out of all things you could have said, I did not see that one coming.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I watched Glee because my kid liked it. So,
yeah. I used to love Glee.
I've never seen Glee.
Oh my gosh. We gotta get on that.
Really now?
We need to get on that. So I did both as well. I feel like mine might be a little obvious, but a character that is unliked by many, but I'm not gonna say loved, but like. I actually like Amy from Gone Girl. Only because I think she's just like wild in like the craziest way, and she's such like an enjoyable character to read.
Honestly, as far as unreliable narrators go, she's got to be the best.
Yeah, I thought that was like perfect on theme as unreliable narrator for this.
Yep.
This is gonna get me into some crap.
Uh-oh.
Character that is loved by many, but I actually don't like. I'm not gonna say hate, because I don't hate many Sarah J. Maas characters. But I don't love. I'm scared. Okay, I'm scared.
You should be.
If you admit one, I'll admit one.
Okay. I am not a huge Bryson Hunt fan. I don't love. Like, I'm not a big Bryson Hunt fan.
Okay.
That's not my
I need you to
favorite.
clarify. Do you just not like them as a couple, or do you not like them as individuals?
Both. Their actions as a couple and individually drive me bonkers. Drive me so bonkers.
That's fair. I'm thinking of something in particular. I was gonna say I only dislike them as a couple, but I'm thinking of something in particular that was an individual act by Bryce that I really didn't like. So I can see that.
Okay, but I gotta clarify right now. How do you feel about Aelin Ashriver Galthinius?
I love her.
How do you not like Bryce then? I don't understand.
Okay,
because Aelin's allowed to do whatever the hell she wants, but suddenly Bryce is like has to be held accountable for her decisions and action.
Because I have grown up with Aelin. I have grown up since she was like a child.
So because you know her backstory, you're unwilling to allow that Bryce might have also had a backstory and grown up?
Well, because I've been with her with every step of the way as she's done this, so I know when I'm like, "Aylin, stop doing that. Like, you're pissing me off. Stop doing that." So I feel much more I just don't feel as connected with Bryce. So if I had grown up with Bryce through all those moments, I probably wouldn't feel the same. Like, I probably wouldn't be easily been like, "I don't like this person."
So you will give Aylin grace because you were there for the journey. But Bryce's journey was private, so she gets no grace.
Sure. Why not?
I didn't think that there was anything that you could say that would piss me off this much, but I am heated.
Why not? Sure.
Well, don't worry. I can make it worse. I'll make you both hate me.
Oh no!
Oh, Lord.
Lindsey.
So a character that everyone loves, and I don't hate this character. I do not hate this character, but I only kind of like. Get ready, internet.
Oh no,
Lucian. I don't see the appeal. I'm not in love with Lucian.
Okay. Honestly, that's okay.
You
Yeah,
guys
I get that.
talking about how much you loved Lucian. I'm like, okay.
I love him, but like I also kind of get why he's not like super appealing. He's just kind of mid. He also just went along with Tamlin for so long. Right?
Yeah. Honestly,
Wait, am I thinking of the right character? Yeah, I'm thinking of the right character.
Yeah,
Okay, just making sure.
I just think he's just not. He's just like kind of there right now. I feel like we don't really know a lot about him, so it's like okay to like just feel like he's just.
Ooh, do you think that's going to come up in the next couple of books that we'll get some more Lucian like backstory? That would be nice.
Probably.
Hopefully.
Now that we've dropped some pretty controversial opinions.
I was going to say, now that we spent 15 minutes on what was supposed to be a 3-minute conversation.
Now that Crystal's probably going to yell at me after this, that's it for today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow the podcast with the links in the show notes so you never miss what we're diving into next. Also, if you enjoy listening to audiobooks, don't forget to check out that Libro FM link in the show notes to support the podcast. And we definitely want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the new Vladimir show? Are you loving it, questioning everything, or somewhere in between? Leave us a comment and let's keep the conversation going. Until then, we will see you in the next chapter based on a book, and hopefully all your fantasies with your fictional characters come to life. Bye!
Bye!